Welcome, stranger, back to my shop. You know, I do have a camera repair shop. I'm in it right now. A lot of people don't know that. Um, where am I going with this? Losing track here. This particular video is about the Pentax SP500, which is the same as the SP1000. I'm going to show you how to remove the top cover. It's a very simple camera, a lot simpler than many, and maybe if you've already have experience you don't need it, but if you're a beginner you might want somebody to kind of walk you through it the first time, and I can save you time and maybe some places where you are exploring trying to get this top cover off and you're not quite sure what you're doing, so maybe I can save you a little bit of time showing you how to get it off and put it back on. And I'm rambling here and I better stop. Okay, let's get started. Pentax, we're trying to remove this top cover here. In some of my other videos I already talked about this, but here's your meter switch, plugs, screw mount lens, which is screw mount body, or mount. I'll get it there eventually. Pentax and SP500. SP500 and SP600. SP1000 are identical, except the 500 only goes up to 500, and 1000 goes to here, and there's an imprinted on the 1000. They put a disc on here that says 1000 here. Of course, also the 1000 has a timer here, self-timer. This one does not. But that's enough about that. I covered that in, I think, my vlog video about this camera. We're just interested in getting the top cover off, so let's do that. Okay, I'm going to open the back, and I'll want to put this tweezers in here and this prong and twist it open like so. I pulled this out, but that's a bad idea. In the past, on a one that was tight, I have broken these off before. Normally it should be left in, and you should push up and then just twist it off. I did it wrong. And the reason I did it wrong is because it's 8 and I'm trying to get this done before 12, and also because I have already had this camera apart when I was working on it on my refurb, and it was apart also when I was doing my vlog video. Now you see this was already loose, and I knew it was loose, and you turn it counterclockwise. You get a pair of needle nose pliers, and I will show you what those look like, right like so, and you stick the prongs in these two holes and twist counterclockwise. And I should have done that and showed you how, but it was, like I said, it was already loose. They would have served no purpose, really. In fact, all these controls should be semi-tight, because I knew I was going to do a video on removing the top cover, so I left them. I tightened just snug. This, I don't know what you'd call this, that nut that screws down on the camera, like so. Let's see if I can get it close here without shaking too much. Shaking a little bit. How about over here? Is it going to focus? No, it's focusing on the camera. Okay. It's a challenge now. Gotta do this. There we go. You can see the threads, they're brass. On the early cameras, they made things out of steel and brass, and later they switched to aluminum, and then they finally switched to plastic, unfortunately. When they started making cameras out of plastic, well, that was the end of the SLRs, because plastic will get brittle over time and break. When I have been putting it on or moving it, sometimes the points of my pliers would slip and I'd scratch this. In fact, I think in one of my videos I was complaining about it. I don't remember which one though. Can't move this back out of the side. Not that big of a deal, really. Okay, what do we got after that? Well, you got this metal piece here, and inside it is a spring. It's a washer spring of some type. I looked it up. I guess I'm going to have to look it up again and put it in text up here somewhere at the top, what it's called. Kind of strange. You put these in where you want tension. Like this, it goes down, up, down, up, down. And when you put this down, you put tension on it. You smash it. And it creates tension on this wheel here. So when you're setting your film in it, you can say, well, it's empty, it's panoramic, what I guess is black and white. And then you've got your color film. So you know what kind of film you got in your camera. And you might say, well, that's silly. Well, back in the old days when they had these cameras, you might take pictures out of a birthday or some special occasion and put it away and not use it for months. And when you take it back out, you may forget what type of film you put in the camera. So this was kind of handy in a way to tell you what kind of film you'd had in the camera. You know, put it a year ago or 6 months ago. Okay, we'll set that aside. And this last part here will never come off because I'm on camera and it's saying, no, I'm not coming off. There it is, just a plate. I don't even know what it's made out of. Doesn't look like brass, maybe steel. Very thin. I wouldn't even call it a washer. It's just what we would call in business a dust cover. Okay, dust cover. And so this hole here, that's where the adjustment is for your exposure meter, which I did a video on that on its own. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you need to go look up the exposure meter videos, and this one will be in there. Now, one last thing I can warn you about before we move on here. This right here, this is your rewind shaft. Now I'm going to pull it up like that. And right here is a groove that a wire, or well, I don't know what to call it, a wire. I guess it's a stiff wire that rides inside here. So when you're pushing it down, it locks in place and doesn't move. And then when you need it, you pull it up. That wire rides in and out of that groove. Well, if you close the back, like I've done here on purpose to show you this, and you push that down, and I'm going to have to be careful here. In fact, I think I will just go ahead and open the back just to be safe. If you push down like this and you go too far, the spring will jump out and you'll push it on down because the cap's not on it. And if you push it too far, I don't know. Can I do this on monitor? If you push it too far down here, you won't be able to get it out. I've tried. Sometimes you can get something pointed. I have a special tool with kind of a hook on the end for cases like this. And I'll grab it and pull it back out. But sometimes it goes down too far and you just can't get it. And you'd say, well, so I'm pushing it up from the bottom here. You'd say, so what? Well, if the back is closed, you can't get in your camera to put film in it or take film out, I guess. So it can be a problem. So when you're removing your top, I have tried two different methods that in the past that worked fairly well. One, I get masking tape and I put some masking tape over this, just to make sure that it can't go down too far. So I'm going to open the back here. The other thing that I've done in the past is I have put masking tape over this latch right here. In other words, just a big piece of masking tape here, here, maybe 2 pieces just to make sure. So the back can't close because it, you know, all that tape is blocking it from latching. But what? Camera repair stuff. You know, somebody just tells you, well, remove that collar, that nut, and pull that parts off and, you know, keep going. If they don't warn you about things like pushing this down too far, you could conceivably lock yourself out of your camera. You know, the film door is just shut. I have, if you push this down too far, you can actually lock yourself out of your camera. I have gotten hundreds of customers before that they've done that. The cap came off, and I don't know what they did, but they pushed that down inside the camera, and then they couldn't open the camera, and then they bring it to me, and I have to charge them, because then I've got to remove this leather along here, undo a couple of screws here, and work that latch out of that its place, you know, where it's hooked to the top, and get it free. And then I've got to put the screws back in, glue this back down, and then I've got to put the cap back on here. Simple on this camera, but on some cameras it can be a lot more work than that. But just warn you, if you are removing your top cover, don't tape this, or be very careful not to push it down too far, or you'll lock yourself out of your camera. Okay, now we're on the right hand side. What do we have on this side? We have our advance lever, our film counter, and we have our speed control and our ASA window. So we've got to get this off, and then the top comes off once we remove the screw right here. This whole top, you've just got this one screw holding it in, and you got the collar that was over here holding it in. So I always like to start with the advance lever first. So how are we going to do that? Well, this cap is held on by 3 screws. There's one, and there's one. I just got through eating supper, and my stomach is gonna growl all the way through this video, and I've got to get this done tonight. And there's a hole right here. There's a third one. Whoops, wrong place. Sorry. There it is right there. You can see the brass color. That's the third one. So what do we need to do? I don't know if I can do this on camera or not. Okay, we're going to hold on here. I'm going to hit my pause. Okay. If I didn't say recently or earlier, this is a cover that goes across the film counter here. And we've got to get this off first before we can remove the advance lever. Okay, here's a tool that I use for this sort of thing. It's pretty small. You might have to make one of your own. It's possible. And this is going to be fun, I can see already. I could pull back further with another camera, but just not the same as being up close. And the Sony says, where do you want me to focus? Okay, turn off autofocus here. Autofocus is off. So now, wherever I put it, let's see here. Fun and games. There we go. Manually focused it, just like the film camera. And right here, and counterclockwise. See it coming out there? That's good enough. You just want to get it loose. You don't want to take it out. If you take it out, you'll lose it. I've lost a lot of these things. And you would say, well, so what? Well, where are you going to find another one? It's kind of unusual screw, and you're not going to be able to go down and buy it at your local hardware store. You'll have to buy another camera to rob the screws off of it to fix yours. And I've done that more than once. Had to buy another camera to fix the camera. We call them parts cameras or junkers. Okay. Now let's see how it just lifts off. And I am going to, I know this is troublesome, but there's no other way to do it if I'm going to show you. Okay. Now, you may not be able to see it very well, but each one of these screws has a point on it right there. It's a very sharp point, like a pencil point. And it goes into the top of the camera, which I will show you here in a moment. And it has to be in an exact place because this top here is not in any way restrained. It can just rotate left and right. And it's pointed at your film counter. So if you don't get it back in the right hole, this film counter pointer will be off. It'll be too far to the right or too far to the left. So just know that you don't want to take these out because you'll just lose them. Leave them in. In fact, sometimes even I screw them back in after I get the cap off, just to doubly be safe that I don't lose one. And I'm not quite as clumsy if I'm actually working with my magnifiers on. It's hard looking in the monitor, which if you'll look in the corner there, you'll see me looking at the monitor. Okay, I'm going to take this and put it back over here in my tray. As I've said in many of my videos, I use ceramic paint trays. And I use the paint trays because they have weight. And I tried plastic, and if you hit a plastic one, I need to turn my autofocus back on. Let's see here, press the button. Where is it at? There, that should do it. And take that off. There we go. It's going now. Let's see if we can, is it gonna, the trouble with the Sony camera is it doesn't know exactly where to focus. Trying to find a, there we go, right there. Usually you can see the hole because it's white or silver, and there'll be 3 of these around the top. And sometimes the cap gets twisted a little bit or something and it gets off, so when you put the cap back on, you'll have to calibrate it, and I'll show you how to do that. But basically you want those 3 pointed screws in their hole or near it on the 3 sides. On this one I can't tell yet. The Sony wants to focus on the top cover instead of that. Are you gonna focus on that? Come on, do it for me. There it is. Dead center. I can't take my hand off the camera. Or can I? Right there. As you can see, a little kind of a silver hole there. Or a notch, or whatever you want to call it, where the other one goes. And then, of course, you got your third one, which I won't bother because it'll take up more time. Okay, your cap's off. And this is your film counter. And what about the film counter? Is there anything to talk about it? The only thing I can say about this, it's a plate that screws on here. And the thing that you need to know, and this is very important, that's why I make these videos for amateurs or for beginners. Right threaded screws, so you unwind. Well, if you do, you'll snap it off. You'll break it. It's a left, which means that you have to turn the screw, and it's got a little ratchet that keeps it in place. You can see there it came loose. It's a left. So Danger. Will Robinson, danger. Nose is itching. Okay. See if I can get this to focus here. I don't know why. My Sony seems like go through spells. Some days it focuses real well, and other days it doesn't. There it is. Not perfect, but it's good enough. You see how small that shaft is. If you unscrew it standard right and go counterclockwise, you'll snap that off. I've done it in the past when I was just learning, and I learned quick enough. You dig a few of these out, you have to, these shafts, after you've broken them off inside, and it'll teach you real quick that that's a left. So be sure and go clockwise when you take this out. And I always advise people when you got something that's small and you think it's the left, but you're not sure maybe, don't just bear down on it and go one direction. Just grab it. I'm going to see if I can grab it and twist it about that far. How much is that, 1/16 of an inch? You're trying to work it free, and you're trying to find out if it's a left or a right. And I already know this is a left, but I have seen some in the, I wished I could tell you what model they were, but they changed it back from a left to a right hit thread. But it's been a long time, and I don't remember which camera it was. But like even when I'm doing any camera and I think that it's the left, I do this rocking and maybe give it a little more leeway to the left turn. It'd be the clockwise turn. But if I'm not sure, that way I won't break it and it'll come loose in one way or another. So anyway, for what that's worth, another tip from a camera repairman: be careful with these left-handed screws. They break them off. Some are fairly large, but this one's not. It'll snap off real easy. And even if you are sure it's the left, rock it as you're taking it out. Don't just go all in on it, one direction. Okay, I'm going to take that off now and put it in a peachy tray. I like peachy trays. Those are really cool. They work good. And they're cheap. So we got I'm going to open the back here and zero it out. You can watch here. I'm going to I'm opening the back. See how it went? The spring pushed it down to this dot right here. This dot is where you have your pointer pointed at when you first put the roll in your camera, and you advance it usually 2 frames and until it gets to the orange 0. Say that again. When you first close the back on a camera, the film that's out of the can is exposed. So you have to advance it usually 2 frames. Don't try to advance it just 1 frame and save some money, because one advance frame is not enough. You got to advance it 2. All right, so sometimes it'll pop off, and sometimes if you turn it upside down, it'll come off. There we go. The space under it is so small that these won't. Where are you at? Oh, these won't work. They can't get under it. It's hard to find even a screwdriver to get under it. So usually I use a knife blade. That what I was using is a paper cutter of some kind. I forgot what they're called. There it is. Okay, it goes in there with that screw. Okay, that was the counter. I'll that aside. Now we're getting down to the, this is the holder for the counter. And underneath that is your advance. That little mark there, I put that there. I always mark everything when I go into the camera, and that way you can get out easier. There's nothing worse than you are putting a camera back together and you say, well, this part will go this way and it'll go that way. I know one of them's right. And you sit there and you try this and you try that. You've wasted 10 minutes until you figure it out. So It's much easier just to get a scribe and mark it, and then when you put it back together, you'll know, okay, there's the mark. Scribe marks always go forward in relation to the camera body, always forward. Okay, so this right here is another collar. It's threaded. Guess what? It's the left. It would take a lot to break it, so I'm not particularly worried about that, but you will booger these notches here that hold it in place. So I will show you. And let's see if I can do this on camera or not. If not, I'll turn the camera off. Okay, it's on there now. Normally, if you were going into the camera yourself and you didn't know, you'd go counterclockwise, but it's the left. So you go clockwise. And that didn't take much because, like I said, I knew I was going to go back in the camera, so I just got it snug. But watch, see? That goes clockwise. Not particularly a danger point like that screw I was showing you before. And you might ask, well, why did they make these lefts? Oh, because I don't know which it is, either the counter or the, probably, these would come undone, but I really don't know. But they made them lefts for, whatever reason. Whoever made the camera, there's the collar. Okay, put it over here in my Petri tray. And I'm sorry about the focus. Sony just is not cooperating tonight. Move that aside. Okay, now the counter is gone. Except for, where is it? This right here, this shaft. This shaft goes down into the body here. And it's got a, I guess you'd call it a ratchet on it. So that, if the back is open, it won't ratchet. When you close the back, it will ratchet as you advance the film. And that means that as you ratchet it go. And when you go one frame, it goes one notch inside and stays in position. Again, another frame, another notch, and on and on and on. And that's counting your frames for you. When you open the back, the ratchet moves out of the way, and this winds down, as you saw, to 0. So even though all the parts to the counter are gone, this is the counter shaft right here. Okay, the advance lever. Advance lever's got 3 screws holding here, very simple, and another, what I call a clip spring. Although I think it was called something else when I looked it up on Google, but I forgot. I didn't like the name that it was. I didn't like the true name, the real name. I just like calling them clip springs because they do that. There are clips and there are springs. Okay, I need to undo these 3 here. I don't know how fast that'll go on camera. I may edit out, and I can't find my screwdriver. There it is right there. And let's see here. There's no point in making you suffer through the whole thing. So I'll just try to... Come on. There we go. Got it out. Got one. And, I forgot to mention these are a standard right. Nothing special about them. Magnetic. I always magnetize my tools. I have one tool that is not magnetized on purpose, because sometimes you don't want the part to stick to the tool, but most of the time you do. I knew one repairman once that he did not have any of his tools magnetized, and he didn't want them magnetized. I thought it was crazy, but what he did was he used tweezers to hold his parts in place. And instead of using a magnetic tool or a tool that has been magnetized, they don't come magnetized. You have to move them across a, come on, I'll find it there. The spring clip, you go, again, you can go either direction. you see the, I'll stop here and show you. Here's the lip right here on the spring clip. It goes underneath here. And as you can see, there's, there's that one. I don't know. Where are the other two? There's one there. There's one there. Up, down, I don't know. You get the idea though. It goes underneath there and holds the advance lever in place. So we go like that, like so, and then when it gets to the open part, it just comes out. There's nothing tricks, no tricks about that. Okay, so put it over here in the tray, and then this just lifts off like so. Move that over here in the tray, and what else do we have here? This is just for dust. This is plastic, by the way. Don't see many plastic in these old cameras, but this is plastic. And I suppose they made this plastic because when you advance in the camera, they didn't want a metal part here scraping the top of the camera here, you see. So they probably put that plastic in there. So here we are. I am in way too close, probably. What should I say? What should I say here? I gave this lecture. On, seems like every camera I work on. And I have to repeat it, and some people get tired of, hearing it, but there's always a newcomer, and I have to explain to him. Nearly all counters, there it is, are timed to some part in the camera, some mechanism, nearly all of them. This over here, the rewind's not timed, and all the parts here on the counter and the advance more or less are not timed, but the speed control is always timed, and it has to be in an exact position, and if it's not, it'll throw off your exposure reading. So amateurs will quite often just undo this center nut here. You can see the two holes in it. And then when they are putting it back together, they put it back in a different position, and they throw off their exposure meter. The meters might work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, if you put them back wrong. But even if they do work, they're not correct. So on every camera that I've ever worked on, I have found out that what I call the best setting to set the camera for, to set the speed control knob at an ASA, so I can check the timing and mark it. So when I put the camera back together and follow the marks, it should be in the same position. On this particular camera, switch cameras here, the position that I use is B for bulb. ASA is right now at 100. I go down to 20. So every camera, like the SP500, SP1000, I will set it at B20, and then I will take the speed control off, and then when I put the camera back together and put the top on and the speed control, it should be at B20. And if I do that, I know that it's synced and that the exposure meter is okay. If you don't do things like that, you may bolt it down at 30-100 or 125-200, and you might even get it to it counts in the camera. Some cameras won't let you be off, but others will. Or maybe in one position it'll go down, in another position it won't. But the thing is, an amateur or somebody who's starting has no idea. They'll take the camera apart, and then as they're putting it back together, they say, "Oh, I'm in business now," and then they figure, "Well, where did this go?" I mean, I can bolt it where it's down here, 125 over here. Or I can bolt it down where the 2's here. I can change the ASA to it, and then you're really screwed because you don't know which speed to set it at, and you don't know which ASA to set it at to make the camera operate properly, the exposure meter, that is. So then you spend hours trying to figure it out, and you probably will. But the thing is, if you'll consistently follow a pattern, like in this camera B20, and then I will show you once this is off what to do next. So we're going to go ahead and stick my needle nose in here and get this off. Let's see if I can get this off without scratching up something. It's counterclockwise. It's a right. It's not a left. Okay, got that off good. And I'm always afraid. I'm less careless, less prone to scratching it if I'm working with a magnifier up close. I'm working on a monitor here and it's scary. Okay, I'm going to get another Petri dish. I separate my parts. This will be my speed control Petri dish. Got that. Okay, normally these have a spring under here. So that's a plate. That's all that is. Drop that in there. Well, monitors have no depth field. And then I've got to get this ASA plate and drop it down in there. And then I've got my spring. And I'm going to show you here in a second. If you'll look, the spring is wide at the bottom and narrow at the top. Not much, but enough that if you're an amateur, you'll try to stick the narrow end down or the wide end up. You may force it and get it to work, but it's not right. You're going to have problems. So remember, you need to remember that when you're reassembling it, put the wide end of the spring or the larger diameter down and the narrow one up. Okay, there. So what do I do then? Well, this is really a simple camera to work on. They are much worse than this. But if you're going to do it like a camera repairman and do it right, if you look, this is brass. I have scratched it here, or scored, I guess is the correct term, and I've scored it there. And the reason is now when I'm working on the camera, go ahead and pull this off here. This, see that stud goes to that hole. So when I pull this off, like so, it can only go on one position, like so. At least you've got that much. You don't always sometimes get, sometimes you just have to mark it and you have to know, but this right here goes down. So when you're putting it back, find that hole and put it like that. And you can see the scored there. I didn't have to because the hole's there. But I always mark my camera so the mark is facing forward if you're holding the camera, in your hands. And it's a small thing, but I've been doing this 45 years and I've just gotten a habit of doing these things to save myself time when I'm repairing here in the shop. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. So this one here has to also be scored, especially if you're going deeper in the camera. If I'm going deeper in the camera and I need to remove this, like the screw here and here, then I need to know where it's at when the cameras be ready to be reassembled. And the score right there tells me forward as I'm holding it. And this right here, I told you where it goes. See there, it's moving. You probably can't see it, but there's a score mark right there, which means forward. Again, nose is itching. Of the camera. Again, when I'm reassembling the camera, I know very just glancing at it, this goes forward, this goes forward. So we're just removing the top cover. We're not going to do any of this other stuff. But if you're going deeper, things like that are important to guide you. Okay, the only other thing we've got to do, it's just got this one screw here holding the top cover on. Let's see if this screw right here, driver, will work. Yeah, I didn't tighten it very much. There. It's really a large screw. Unusual, actually. Usually cameras don't have screws that large. But as I said, this is an earlier model, and they did different things differently. And you lift off like so. Okay. Another danger point I'll show you here that possibly the other repairman will not tell you. They show you how to take a camera apart, but they don't have these little details. And you need these little details to keep from getting in trouble. Now my camera is going to focus or not focus. It's focusing on the side here and not on this part. So again, I'm going to hit my button, which I set for turn focus off. And maybe I can do it this way. There we go. Now it's sharp. This little right stud here falls out, can fall out. You say, well, that's grease. When you take a top cover off like this, you won't think about it, but you'll be laying it around like so on your desk, and it will fall out underneath and roll off your desk and be lost forever. And you can see it down in there, although it's out of focus right now. Move it in a little closer. That silver in the dead center, that's what would you call that? Let's call it a stud for right now. That's not right there. A plunger. A plunger there goes in there. And what's that for, you say? Well, back in the olden days, you put a cable release on here. Cable release could be a handheld release, or it could be on like a self-timer. And if you were shooting like stars at night, timed exposure, and you didn't want the camera to shake, you put a cable in here. And then you, there's a plunger on the end and a stud, and it pressed in here, fired your camera. And that's what that was made for. And to do it, they put this in here, and it always gets lost if you're not careful. So the first thing I do when I take the top cover off is I sit here and I can't get it out. Let's put the grease on it, I guess. It's causing it. Usually it just falls out after sitting in the camera for 40 years. There it is. So the first thing I do is I push it out if I need to, and put grease on it and put it back. And that way it can't fall out. While I'm working on the camera and doing other things, I'll forget. And so anyway, be sure and grease that first thing.